I have covered a ton of absolute mad lad devices in the past. This device right here might be one of the craziest devices I've ever seen. Not only does it have an ESP32C5 for dual band, it also has an ESP32S3 room for even more computational power. But that's not it. This device has so much more. GPS, we got that. NRF24 for 2.4 gigahertz capabilities, we got that. IR LEDs to learn universal remotes, yeah, we got that too. This thing's even got an Ethernet jack for wired network analysis. And that just scrapes the surface of what the Banshee from Wired Hatters can do. I've been waiting like a year to get my hands on one of these things. I am so psyched. Let's get at it.
This video is for educational purposes only. Only test your own hardware. Doing otherwise is illegal. Don't be a skid.
Alright, so the first thing I want to do is show you this really nice box that it comes in. It's got a little PCB design on the side here and the side here. It's got a little magnetic clasp on here, and when it opens, you see Wired Hatters. The Wired Hatters present the Banshee. Cool font, I like that too. And we got some stickers in here from the Wired Hatters. Throw that there, and you've got a custom foam box. No, I didn't want to put it back in the box. I have to take the antennas off, and that's a whole thing. But yeah, really nice presentation. Well done there. Introducing the Banshee by Wired Hatters. This thing is, again, absolute mad lad. Let's take a look at the back. We will be taking this apart. Now, it comes with this little ceramic antenna on there. I added this big boy Chungus guy on top. It does have the SMA for it up there. The antenna over here is for the NRF24 for 2.4 gigahertz signals. And then we have the, right there, you can actually see the C5 and the S3 antennas go over there. This thing is absolutely crazy. There is our Ethernet port. We have a 4-pin GPIO that's going to work with our NRF board. This is actually a Grove port. It'll interact with devices by M5 stack. I'll show you that later. We've got a joystick here. Let's actually just power this on so you can see it in the process. So if we give a little short button here, this light's going to be a little bright. We might have to cover it up. We'll see. And then the screen comes on. This is running Ghost ESP Revival. Thank you very much to Decky for getting this back going. The Ghost ESP process was run by Spooky, and then Decky took it over when Spooky left. So very cool. Again, we've got a 4-way joystick with a push button on here. We've got a jog dial, which actually controls the screen. It's so cool. We have over here, we have USB-A. This switch right here actually turns the LEDs on the side on and off. Here, actually, I'll show you. If we hold the power button, this is why this thing's absolutely mad lad. Press the power button and hold it, and it's going to turn on this bank of, those are UV LEDs. This is a blacklight. Absolutely crazy. Switch the button, and now it's a flashlight. It's got a big flashlight back here. Why? Who knows? Why not? It's so cool. And yeah, let's switch it back, and now, yeah, again, it's a blacklight. So if I grab something like one of these Kittens coins, you can see that, it's hard to see, but yeah, there's actually, a lot of the filament on here is glow in the dark, so you can see the outlines on there. Very cool. Hold power again to turn that off because we don't need it right now. I'm already killing my battery. There we go. But yeah, it's so cool. We'll go over a lot more stuff, but this thing is sick. Over here, we have even more GPIO, which is always useful. On the bottom, we have a speaker output and USB Type-C, the only good USB spec. Fantastic. It's just so cool. Oh yeah, up here, and I'll show you some more stuff with this. That's a little OLED display on there, which gives you your system information, as well as some other cool stuff. Like right now, it's on digital range. So let me go into settings and give you guys a little bit of an idea of what's going on and what we can do in here. So let's go to settings. It is a touchscreen, but you know, I don't have to touch things. I'd rather not. Oh, hello. So if I don't use the touchscreen, I don't block the screen. So let's go into our settings and we can see our display here. I've got to turn the max brightness super low so you guys can see everything, but it actually looks pretty good. Let's see, let's go back, and here we can change our appearances here. There's all sorts of customizations for the actual device menu and the UI. I love the fact that you can customize it to look exactly like you want it to. Very fun. So now we have the LEDs. So these LEDs, we have it on the Night Rider mode right now, and the NeoPixel brightness is at 50, but if we change it to something else, Stealth just turns them off. Let's do like Rainbow. You can see just how crazy bright these things are. But if we turn the NeoPixel brightness down to like 20, it's actually not too bad. So let's see if they get super annoying by the end of the video. All right, let's go back. And then if we go down to the status display, so that's the display up here. So we have the idle animation. This is running Matrix, but it's also got flying ghosts, which is pretty cool. It's just basically like a screensaver, like, you know, the flying toasters. It's kind of that vibe. By the way, if you haven't gone to my website, talkingsasquatch.com, I've added so much stuff to the website. There's actually an entire operating system you can can run. There's a BBS, there's a TV, there's all sorts of cool stuff. So check it out. Anyway, so then we have an animation. There's a spiral animation. That looks so cool. It's so cool. There's a status LED up there, but the fact that they add these idle animations just makes it really funny. Ghost Revival, bouncing text. And this is cool. I'm going to leave this on. This is the game of light. I don't know if anybody remembers that from way back in the day. This is basically almost an early version of AI, where this thing kind of does its own thing and lives on its own. Oh yeah, I forgot. It actually has a heads-up display. So this thing actually is useful and not just silly. Although what we're going to do is going to be just silly, because I love silly. Here we go. Back to game of light. Now, as much as I love the silly animations in the UI, the Banshee is still a network auditing monster at its core. So to actually understand what's happening under the hood of a network, you need more than just cool hardware. You need the skills, and that's where today's sponsor comes in. TryHackMe. AI is getting into just about everything right now, but nobody's really teaching how to defend and secure it. That's what TryHackMe's new AI security learning path is for. If you've never used TryHackMe before, it's all hands-on, fully in your browser, and free to start. No crazy setup, no downloads, no lab machine nonsense. Just jump in and start learning. What's cool about this one is it's not just theory. In the first room, you're actually working with a live AI agent inside a browser to analyze a security scenario and solve a challenge from a professional auditor's perspective. It feels way more like real-world AI-assisted security work instead of just watching somebody talk about it. And that's just the beginning. It goes on to show how to identify and mitigate things like jailbreaking, data poisoning, and prompt injection too. You can sign up for free using my link down in the description. And if you want full access, you can use my code SASQAI to save 25% on an annual premium plan. Thank you so much to TryHackMe for the continued support. You guys are awesome. All right, let's get back at it. All right, let's go back and let's just go through some of the stuff you can do with this. So it does have its own apps. So you will be able to download more apps in the future. Currently, it's just got a visualizer and a terminal and a Ghostchi. I think it's obviously it's supposed to be like a Pwnagotchi game. Right now, it's not seeing my, oh, cool. It is seeing my SD card. A second ago, it wasn't seeing my SD card. What does this go? Let's go to start. Oh, excellent. And now it's acting like a Pwnagotchi. That's actually really fun. I like how they put the effort into making this like a Pwnagotchi, so it's got a little animated character on there. Very cool. Obviously, we're only testing devices within our own test network, and this is me giving myself permission to test all of my own devices. We always want to make sure that we're doing everything we can as ethically as possible because we don't want to interfere with anybody else's networks and only test our own device. All right, cool. Let's stop this for now. And let's go back to see what else we got on here. I'm so glad this was working. This wasn't working last time. Very cool. Now it does have the accelerometer, which is what I was showing off in the beginning of the video, and as this moves around, which you can't really see super good, but it will change because it's got a 6-axis accelerometer on there. Going back, we do have a compass. Now, of course, this isn't going to work because I don't have GPS currently connected to any satellites right now. That's very whoa, it is working. What? I wonder if this works on just the gyro or what, but yeah, that's very cool. I haven't seen this work before. Sick. Awesome. This thing just keeps getting better. We do have bad USB on this one. We won't bother going through any of the demonstrations on that. You've all seen what that does. Now here we have our NRF24, and according to the website, some of these things like the frequency analyzer are still kind of in beta, so these may not work perfectly yet. Again, this is a relatively new device and they're porting the firmware over to it, so these things do take time. Now this is cool. This is NFC. So this doesn't have onboard NFC, but it does come with this little NFC chip right here. So yeah, this is the NFC module version 3. And if we line up the ground pin and this thing right here with this port over here, making sure we put it in the correct orientation, as I bonk the camera, plug that in, the little light comes on. Now we can go to NFC, and then we can scan an NFC card. So if we go ahead and click the scan button, and then we're gonna grab just a regular old MyFair Classic card right here. This is unwritten to right now, so it probably won't show us too much, but it's gonna go through and try to read that card. Let's give it a few seconds to make sure I can see on my status screen. Boom, scan complete. Now we've read our MyFair Classic 1K card. We can go through and click more, and now we can see some more information about that MyFair Classic card. This actually gives me a really good excuse, cancel, to use this. This is actually a really cool device that my buddy Hamspiced from Midwest Gadgets sent me. This is an NFC field detector. So if we look at the other side, we've got all these little LEDs on there. Well, what this does, when it comes near an NFC field, it illuminates the lights. And you can see, actually, this is doing a pretty good job. It's a very bright light. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and cancel that, and we'll take this out because it's a little precarious. And actually, I'm curious. Remember how I said that this thing has a Grove connector down here? Let me go ahead and grab this little guy. This is a Unit C6L from M5 stack, of course, and it's got a Grove connector. So let's plug this bad boy in and see what happens. Alrighty, that goes like that. It's in, and do you turn on? Oh, the light's on. Hey, and it's singing the song of its people. Look at that. Whoop, did I do that?
Did I do that?
Oh, that's weird. Now, I've noticed this sometimes on different devices. If you plug in something like this, it does wacky things. Are we good now? No, we're not good. So I don't know what's going on exactly, but after plugging this into the Grove port, it looks like it might be affecting the movement toggles of the joystick or something, so I might have to disconnect it. As I said before, this is definitely a work in progress between the firmware and the hardware. The hardware is pretty solid, but the firmware, again, they're working on it. It is, again, a work in progress. Let's pop out of here. So that was a great example of NFC. Let's hop on over to infrared. So we've got our infrared, and our infrared little guys are over there. So what we're gonna do is let's go to learn remote, because that's a good way to see if this thing works. And then learning. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take this cheap little, LED. I'm sure you got 1,000 of these remotes, and this controls the LED lights in my room. Press on, there we go, signal decoded. We're gonna go ahead and save that. And signal name, I don't know, power, cool, done. And then if we go to remotes, and learned IR. So let's see if this works. All I'm gonna do is switch cameras because we're doing this the easy way. Hello, this is what it looks like when I'm filming a top down. And let's just give it a power command. Boop. Hey, it works. Awesome. Oh yeah, speaking of remotes, I just remembered what this guy over here is for. This guy actually fits like these mini Flipper Zero boards. So you can pop this guy in over here, and now this thing's got the Death Star on it. This is the IR blaster from Rabbit Labs. Not exactly sure how to implement it, but I do remember that this was added to the Banshee, because the Banshee is basically everything plus. Billy Green added pretty much every feature you could possibly want to a piece of hardware like this, and it's very cool with the expandability. That's just awesome. Pop this out, because that also means that, again, I don't know exactly how the implementation would be, but we could pop this guy in here. And yeah, green light's on. I'm not transmitting, so it shouldn't hurt my antenna, but now I've got a CC1101 sub-gigahertz radio on this. It's so freaking cool. I love this thing. Pop that out before I burn anything up. Also, huge shout out to Tron for the amazing case. He makes really cool stuff. Thanks again. All right, so let's pop on back to the main menu and let's keep moving through here. So yeah, we have the GPS in here, and this is where you do Wardriving. Now I'm pretty positive if we go to GPS info, we'll see, and oh, I have 9 satellites. Gotta block out my GPS position. Because of this absolute chungus of an antenna, I actually have a GPS lock inside my test studio. That is insane. I never, ever, ever get GPS in here. Very, very cool. Now here we have BLE, so it can go through and detect BLE devices. So let's detect some devices inside of my test network just to see exactly how this works. Okay, cool. So if I run a GAT scan on here, this will show all of my devices that are on my test network. You can see my Flipper Zeros. You can see all sorts of good stuff in there. That's pretty freaking nifty. I like that. Let's get out of there so I don't have to keep censoring stuff, because that takes so much time. Of course, it's got BLE spam. Never use BLE spam. It's just hella annoying. Never use that. All right, so here we have our Wi-Fi. We can scan the environment. We can scan the network. It does have the ability to do captive portals. I always like to dig into things like miscellaneous. Oh yeah, that's right. This thing's really cool. So I'm not entirely sure exactly how this works, but this can actually somehow connect to TVs and kind of cast to them, which is pretty cool. It does have all of the Wi-Fi capabilities that you would expect from a device that has dual band C5 in here. So it is a very capable network device. So yeah, that's a quick once over of the capabilities of Ghost ESP inside of the Banshee by the Wired Hatters. So I told you I would before. Let's go ahead and open this bad boy up, because it's actually even cooler on the inside. And yeah, this is a brand new clear resin case that I don't think anybody really has except me and, Billy Green himself. It shows pretty well what's inside here, but I want a better view. So let's go ahead and tear this thing down. All right, so first things first, let's power this guy off by double tapping the power button, and now we're off. Fantastic. So let's unscrew this. I got the Fantic E2 Ultra, I think it's called, whatever. And I'm just gonna unscrew this guy. 1, 2, 3, and 4. There we go. Now, I actually put the battery into this thing myself, and one of the cool things is it does have reverse polarity protection. Ask me how I know, because yeah, when I first plugged this thing in, it did not work. So I think I'm gonna have to disconnect one of my antennas here. Yeah, I don't want to break it. Hold on. I'll plug you back in a second. And then, actually, I'll unplug the battery board too. I think it was a pain in the butt to get it back in, but there we go. So, because this is just a battery in a case, nobody really cares that much about that. If you do, look at it. Look at it. It's wonderful. But, you know, it's just a resin printed case. No big deal. But again, it's cool because it's resin printed. All right, so looking even more closely, let's see if I can get this zoomed. Yeah, this looks pretty good. You can read this. So I forgot to put a battery in here. I really need to put a battery in because what it does is it saves your GPS information and gives you a much faster connection. However, I mean, you saw how fast this thing connected to GPS. Yeah, it's awesome. Obviously, SD card right there. That is our 4-pin connector that we were using for NFC, and that's the Grove port right there. We've got the power that we were using down there and this cool little jog wheel. So this actually controls everything just like everything else, and it has a push on it. There's so much crazy stuff on this device. It's insane that you have not just this little dial there, and then not just this nubbin right there, which again, 4 direction and a click, and also a touch screen. So you can control this thing in so many ways. And it's got a speaker. I forgot to even mention it's got an onboard speaker. Nothing really works with the onboard speaker or the headphone right now, at least that's my understanding. But again, these are things they're working on in the future. We have our switch for the UV and the lights, and our LEDs for the light there. And then the UVs are, where did those go? Oh yeah, that little thing right there. It's impossible to see, but that's the UV lights right there on the side. I couldn't even figure it out. USB-A, I'm not sure if that's an interface thing or what, but yeah, USB-A. Those are the boot and the reset buttons right there for this ESP, which is that guy I want to say, which is, of course, your ESP32 room. So this is your ESP32. Oh, this is the S3 room, and this must be the C5 room. Cool, cool. This is your Flipper Zero attachment point up there. That's your GPS. So that GPS plugs into this big old GPS antenna right here. And of course, up here is our IR LED. Now, these things, can I take this off of the main board, or is this, a little scary? How scary is this? It's a little scary. Okay, because I have already actually changed this because this came in a different case to begin with. And I just dropped the power button, which I've found, thank goodness. So yeah, that is the front of it. He added so much really cool silkscreen that was completely covered before. It was a huge shame that these things were coming without having an actual clear case because you couldn't see all of this cool stuff. There's your buttons, and oh wait, you have 3 buttons down here that aren't even available on the case. If you have any idea what those buttons do, leave a comment down below. There's another button here. Oh wait, that's a power button. I knew what that is. You can press, I didn't even know those buttons were pressable. Oh my God, I'm such a freaking idiot. I can't believe that was there. I didn't even know. Good God. I do my best, guys. And yeah, you got a little, like, almost looks like a little bit of a mustache. And oh yeah, if you were interested in this shirt that I'm wearing, it's available at shop.squatch.zip. And I've got an entire Hackers Fallout kind of crossover with those. So check them out in the shop down below. Of course, these are our NeoPixels on the side. And yeah, those are the little teeny tiny UV LEDs. Man, this thing's sick. All right, I'm gonna put it back together because I want to see what the heck these buttons do. All right, another build montage. Oh shit, upside down. No, that was great. Cool. There we go. Alright, always got to make sure that little switch works before you put it all back together. I get the EO1 plugged back in because that is our NRF24. And actually, let's plug in the power first. That's easier. Oof, got him. It's so scary. And then this I don't need to plug in because that's the wrong antenna, so I don't need that. Give it the old shake, rattle, roll test, make sure nothing falls out. We're good there. Now, this actually does have brass inserts, which I really like, because if you're going to be taking stuff apart, especially if it's resin, it's kind of not a great thing to screw into and out of a bunch of times. So we're going to relatively loosely attach these guys right now, and then we'll tighten them up once we have them all lined up. All right, cool. Manual mode. Excellent. And power it back on with any luck. Whoops, the light turned on. Because I held the button because I'm a dummy. Did the exact same thing and I'm like, don't do this. There we go. Awesome. So yeah, what do these buttons do? 1, 2, 3. Nothing. They don't do anything. Well, that was rather anticlimactic. But hey, at least I put it together and it didn't break. Very, very cool. And yeah, nothing's messed up. Fantastic. And just to make sure I didn't do anything stupid, if we go back into GPS, this, if it'll connect really quickly, that would be super cool. So, and GPS. And just GPS information, initializing. And yeah, whoop, 2. We don't have a fix yet, but we can view 2. We got it already. Holy damn. Yeah, like, I swear, I told you before that these antennas are legit. Just as legit as today's sponsor, TryHackMe. So that is the Banshee by the Wired Hatters. Billy Green did such a great job on this project, and remember, it has so much more capabilities than the firmware currently has, so down the road, this thing will be even more useful and even more powerful. I mean, maybe we'll even port Hailhound over this guy because it's got most of the same hardware and most of the same capabilities. That would be an awesome project. Are there any other projects or devices you'd like to see me cover, like the Biscuit Pro? Leave a comment down below. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. It helps me out a ton. All right, we'll catch you next time.